Greetings. Thank you for taking a moment of your time to watch this presentation of an action research plan for Northridge High School as part of a presentation for the American College of Education. For those of you that don't know about an action research plan, it's usually broken down into about 4 steps, and I'm going to briefly walk you through those in case you're unfamiliar. Part 1, of course, starts off with a purpose. You then roll into a problem statement, and then that delves into the research questions. Part 2 goes into a literature review, what other findings have been found out about the topic. And then there's research methodology, basically, how are we going to study the item that we are interested in. Part 3 is the actual getting your hands into the mud of data collection, and then taking that data and doing data analysis. And then part 4 is ultimately doing things such as a future action plan, it's the force field analysis, and then a wrap up with conclusions. So the ultimate purpose that I had was to determine what was going on at my school. And here you see a picture of Northridge High School. The demographics are also shown here. It's predominantly Hispanic, with the next largest group being white. There is a 67% free or reduced population as well too. So certainly a socioeconomic standpoint is something that we have to take into consideration. My passion is extracurricular activities. I happen to coach fencing, and I was quite perplexed when starting a program how low the number of turnout was. Our student population is about 1,300, and I was barely able to scrape together about 10 participants. This was the impetus for my research. So that leads us to the problem statement and research questions. The problem that I found ultimately was low turnout in these extracurricular activities. And that's what I wanted to research and to start to solve. I came up with these questions. What is the benefit of students in extracurricular programs at Northridge? What implementations can be put forth to increase participation in extracurricular programs at Northridge High School? How does Northridge improve extracurricular programs to be representative of the student population it serves? So thus I had to go digging into the literature, and there were 4 sources that I found that really were helpful to enlighten me and bring me into a better understanding about the prior work that had been done in this area. We start with the Dawes et al. What we found out was this was a case study about Latinos from grades 7 through 12. They noted that there was a decrease in participation as students continued to get older. And their finding had to do with it mostly was cultural. The girls were encouraged to focus more on family and home economics. And the boys, if they didn't show a great interest in middle school, if they wanted to drop it in high school, they were encouraged to do so. The Mehmeti study et al. Went into a study of Kosovo and children ages 14 and 15. Their goal was to try to see 60 minutes of participation in some sort of an extracurricular activity daily. They were seeing less than half of that, and their findings had to do with 2 things. 1 was a low intrinsic motivation, as well as 2, that they found that the programs that were offered just didn't match up with what the students wanted. The Knifesend et al. Program studies specifically peer relationships and the impact of sports. And what they found is that if their friends were involved in the activity, an individual was far more likely to stay engaged in the program. Finally, a study by Poos, specific to fencing, found that fencing was a great equalizer to bring people of all different demographics, ethnicities, ages, and socioeconomic backgrounds to the table, to a school that was just designed and developed trying to be more inclusive of the surrounding community. This leads us to the research methodology. Now, as I made mention in the discussion post, I hit a major roadblock, so I had to deviate and to find a new method. I did, however, manage to interview staff members and find out their feelings and opinions about not only extracurricular activity and the impact on students, but their participation in it as well too. I had to pull old data from our school, bigger, broader surveys, one of which is the School Climate Student Survey, and the second one is the Panorama Student Survey. Allow me to share a little bit of that information with you now. So for the data analysis, one of the things that I found most striking and remarkable was that there was a great amount of participation by our students in terms of where they saw there was opportunity. However, when you look at these bottom data points and the percentages, it still doesn't quite add up, does it? You can see that of the staff that I interviewed, only 17% lead an extracurricular activity. 4% of the students are involved in some form of an extracurricular activity, even though 94% of the students found that there were activities that were available to them, and that the staff really, across the board, 100% of them saw the positive attributes of extracurricular activity on our students. So thus, I came up with a future action plan, and it involves the following. I saw that really we need to research more to enhance and improve our current programs. We need to survey the students more closely to find out where are their interests and make sure that we're meeting the interests that they have. Finally, I decided that we need to design and deliver these new opportunities. Now that's only half of the equation. The other side has to do with staff support. We know full well that staff members of any generation deserve to be recognized for their accomplishments and achievements. And so I want to see that happen. We need to find new talent. We need to motivate them and encourage them with things like friendly competitions and maybe some small prizes to incentivize their participation. Also, too, if there's some funding lying around somewhere, that would be beneficial as well, too. So in conclusion, I know that I need to do more research. I know that a new committee must be formed, specifically revolving around students getting involved in extracurricular activities. Our traditional sports of football and baseball and soccer do fine, but it's these other programs that could enrich a student's education and impact their overall achievement. We need to do a better job of involving families. And finally, I and my newly formed team need to seek out new community partners to enhance these programs that we design and develop and enhance. As I reflect on the work that I have done this last 5 weeks, I realize that I have only just begun this journey. There is so much more to be done. When I get back to school, finding a team who is willing to work with me to achieve this common goal. I know that I have a wonderful administration who wants to see the school thrive and be successful, and I know that I will need to put in more time and more energy, but most importantly, I know that it will impact the students for the greater good, and that's what's most important. Thanks again, everyone, for watching this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. No, you don't have to subscribe, but a like would certainly boost my ego. Thanks again. Thank you so much to Dr. Bateman, and thank you, colleagues, for watching this video and for your feedback.